So, really good shows, really good podcasts will tell you what happened yesterday. And there's a lot of those. And they'll give you an opinion. I personally think the world has enough opinions, and you certainly don't need mine. I think my job really needs to be as somebody who can see slightly over the horizon and show you what these things mean, what's happening, what happened yesterday, what they mean to you today. More importantly, what does this mean if these things continue to go in the direction that they're going? So we can not ignore these warning signs and look at them through history and through common sense. So if we were an early warning system, there would be some lights on the panel that are flashing today. Some would be red, some would be yellow, and some would actually be green. So let me just go through all of these things because it matters. Not everything would be red, but panic is what you feel after you have ignored the warnings, or you didn't know that was a warning. You didn't hear about it. So let me read the panel for you honestly here. There's some red lights flashing today that you need to know, and these are not political opinions. They are historic danger signs. I've checked these back and forth with history because I'm looking at history now and saying, where are we? In Rome or in France? Where are we in history? One of the biggest warning signs that I see right now is red light number one, and that would be the loss of nuance. This one is blinking really hard, and you see it in the Preddy conversation, okay? There is no nuance here. There is, a healthy society can hold two ideas at the same time. An unstable society cannot do that. And right now, we're losing the ability to say, somebody can be really guilty and a bad guy and mistreated. Law enforcement can be necessary, needed, doing their job, and fallible. Protests can be legitimate and infiltrated by insurrectionists. Those things are all true. But America can't see that anymore. And that's when everything collapses into all good or all evil, there is no moral clarity anymore. That's moral laziness. Rome didn't fall when people disagreed. America has never fallen when we disagree. Rome and America will fall when disagreement becomes identity warfare. That light is bright, bright red in America. Warning sign, red light number one. Red light number two, faction over truth. Truth, you know what the name Israel means? The name Israel means to wrestle with God. Now, how could Israel be the chosen people if their name says wrestle with God? Because truth is meant to be wrestled with. It's meant to be argued about, wrestled with, thought about, argued about. Tearing it apart, tearing yourself apart at night. The only way I am who I am, the only reason why I know who I am is because I wrestled with everything in me. I tore myself apart. What is it I really believe? What is worth living for? What's worth dying for? What's worth arguing about? What's not? What's true? But now, truth is something we argue for like a team, and facts no longer persuade. All they do now is signal allegiance. That's really dangerous. That's a late-stage indicator. Once truth bends to faction, power then replaces persuasion every time, in every civilization, in all of history. And that light is flashing red. All of these things are coming in Minnesota. Red light number three, organized disorder. Not protest. Protest is needed. Protest is important. Protest is constitutionally protected. No matter what anybody says, everyone has a right to go out and protest what ICE is doing. Everyone has a right to go out and protest what some of these judges are doing by not enforcing what some of these cities are doing by saying they're a sanctuary city. You have a right to protest. You have a right to protest the law. You have a right, but you don't have a right to disrupt the law. You have a right to go protest the people who make the law to get them to change the law. You have a right to go and stand peacefully and protest the cops, if that's what you want, or ICE, but you do not have the right to engage and disrupt the law. When unrest becomes coordinated, when it becomes professionally funded, strategically disruptive, and shielded by moral confusion, because there's no morality here, it's moral confusion. That's no longer a spontaneous civic expression. It's not. That is pressure being applied to the system. Rome faced this. Internal destabilization. It was justified as the will of the people. Red light, red light, red light, red light. Pay attention, America. Red light. Now, there's some other things that are flashing I want to go through that are yellow lights. And they're serious, but they're not fatal at this point. These are warnings, not verdicts. Yellow light number 1. Currency confidence. Gold is rising. And the way gold is rising, it's not a collapse announcement. It is a stress gauge. It is a very important. Do you know what gold is up to today? It is trading now today, at least a few minutes before I went on the air. Futures were trading at as high as $5,600 an ounce. It was $4,900 an ounce on Friday. I'll give you some historic comparisons of this here in a few minutes. It's not good. Now, gold doesn't predict dates. All that gold does is reflect trust or the lack of it. And when people begin to move towards hard assets, what they're saying is, I'm not sure any of these promises hold. Well, what promises are those? Promises of we're a stable society. We are not going to spend ourselves into oblivion. That our government and our Congress gets it, and they're going to stop spending so much and borrowing so much. They no longer believe that NATO can hold the world together. America can hold the world together. They know things are beginning to get really dicey. It's a yellow light, and it is trending hotter every day. Pay attention to that. Now, yellow light number 2. This goes along with yellow light number 1, debt saturation. Debt isn't immoral, but debt that can't be discussed honestly and paid back is immoral, and it's dangerous. When a nation stops saying, how are we going to pay this bill? When a nation says, who's going to pay this bill? Who bears the burden of this bill? Or they stop asking, what happens if confidence breaks? That's what's happening with gold. What happens if people start to believe we're not going to pay this back? That's when debt becomes corrosive and deadly. Now, we're not Rome yet, but this gauge is rising. Yellow light number 3, institutional distrust. This goes with the red lights I gave you and the yellow lights. Not skepticism, but distrust. Skepticism is healthy. Skepticism is the American system. What are the first 5 rights in the First Amendment? You have a right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, meaning you can go and assemble in the streets, and freedom of petition. You can petition your government. I want answers. So skepticism is our First Amendment, and it's healthy. Distrust is paralyzing. When people believe the courts are illegitimate, that it doesn't matter. You have to be connected. You have to be on one side or the other. If they believe elections are meaningless, law enforcement is either sacred and can make no mistakes or evil and can do no good. The system loses its elasticity, its ability to stretch and bend the way it has to. That's yellow, not red, but close enough to pay attention because it's getting deeper yellow. Before I break, there are some green lights. Let me give you that because these matter more than most people think because the green lights are important. Green light number 1. These are good things. We're still arguing about right and wrong. We're still having those debates. Collapsing societies stop arguing about morality. They argue only about power. And we're still arguing about justice and what it means, limits, rights, responsibility. That's not decay. That's conscience. It's still alive. That's a green light. That's a good light. Green light number 2. The Constitution still exists, and it's still being cited. Rome ruled by decree. We're still fighting over the documents. It's getting a little sketchy, but we're still arguing it. And that tells you something powerful. People still believe rules matter, even when they break them. It's green, but it's fragile. Green light number 3. I'm able to get on the air and speak to you about these warnings. MSNBC is able to get on the air and speak to you about what they see as warning signs. Rome silenced its warnings. We are today still able to have them on the air legally. Both sides. That alone means this system is not finished. Early warning signs only matter before the catastrophe. And here's the most important thing to remember. Red lights do not mean doom. They mean choice. Make a choice. Civilizations don't collapse because warnings exist. They collapse because warnings are mocked, politicized, or ignored. So the question is, not are we Rome? The question is, will we do what Rome didn't do and respond to the warning signs while the lights are still on? Because once the panel goes dark, there are no more warnings. Pay attention to the warning signs today.